Today we play golf.
Let me show you how we do it in the pros.
Welcome to Behind the Golf Brand Podcast.
I never miss with the 7-iron.
A conversation with some of the most interesting innovators and entrepreneurs behind the biggest names in golf.
My friends with the golf clubs. I lived on the golf course. I lived on the driving range.
From pro talk
You should learn something from each and every single round you play.
to fun from on and off the green.
Why would you play golf if you don't play it for money?
Just let me put the ball in the hole.
This is Behind the Golf Brand Podcast with Paul Liberatore.
What's up, guys? Paul from Golfers Authority, and welcome to the Behind the Golf Brand podcast. This week, we're on episode 70. I can't believe I've hit 70 already. It's been a great year and a half, and I'm really happy to have you guys all along with the journey. This week, I have my friend Sam Uisprapassorn, the CEO of Cut Golf Balls. This is like the third try we tried doing this, because every time Sam and I start talking, we talk for like an hour and a half, and then we're like, we can't do it today. But Sam's a good friend of mine. You guys heard of Cut. They make amazing balls. So today we're going to talk to Sam and find out what they're up to and kind of Sam's story. And so welcome to the show, Sam.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Paul. Good to finally pull this one off.
We're actually recording this time.
We're actually recording this time.
Like, you guys don't understand. We started this. When did we start this? Like, probably.
Oh, easily like over a year ago. Easily.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
Like, for reals. I bet it's been like a year. It was funny because the first time I tried to have him on the show, like, we were just like, we totally hit it off. Like, we talked for 2 hours and we're like, oh, we're not going to record this today. And then we tried again this fall, and then that didn't happen. And then we tried 3 weeks ago, and then we talked for an hour and a half about off-roading and jeeping and getting together. And then I finally said today, we have to do it today. So, I don't know, I'm pretty stoked to have you actually doing this. You're not a pro, right? Are you a golf pro? Nope. You just like us.
Yeah, I'm the furthest thing from a golf pro.
Yeah, we all are. So where are you at right now? Like, where are you guys located?
So we are located in Costa Mesa, California. So we're pretty much like an hour south of LA and about another hour north of the San Diego area.
You're like dead middle, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, so pretty much we're pretty much right at the heart of the golf industry, you know, geographically speaking.
So are you close to Orange County? Is that part of Orange County?
No, yeah, we're in Orange County.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
We're going to play a little game. It's called Why'd You Start Cut? So before we get to that, let's start this. So what is your background? Like, are you, obviously, you're not a professional golfer. And I mean, like, when did you first start playing golf? Did you play golf with your dad or your mom? Or like, how'd you kind of get into it?
I think essentially it has a lot to do with Tiger Woods, right? I was a junior, senior in high school when Tiger was really making his debut. And I think just like any kid, you know, in those late teenage years, you're like, oh, cool. A golfer that looks athletic, you know, maybe looks like me, but looks like it's relatable to me. I think that really caught my attention, right? It doesn't hurt that Tiger's half Thai, just like I am. So I think that was also, something that drew me in. But I mean, I think to be at that age and see the success that Tiger was having, seeing how is just so dominant, that just sucked me in. And, I played golf recreationally, through those years, and then went off to college, and the clubs, just sat most likely in my parents' garage collecting dust. And then, you go through your late 20s, and then you meet a girl and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to get married. And, her dad played golf. It's like, hey, come on out. And, I think that kind of rekindled the game for me, and then the rest is kind of history.
So did you play in high school, like just recreationally and whatever?
Yeah.
Like everybody.
Yeah. So we're going to go out there, have some fun. I mean, I grew up playing hockey. I grew up playing soccer. Those are like the two main sports that I grew up playing, and that I still, at least on the hockey front, still have some involvement with to this day. And I'm an avid soccer fan as well, but I didn't play like organized golf in those years.
Where'd you go to college at? USC?
Oh, no.
I know, it's your wife's. I'm just messing with you.
It's my wife's, and I remind her, and sorry, all the Trojans out there, I didn't have to pay to get into my school, so I might get kicked out of bed for like the next week for saying that. But
that's all right. You're married.
Yeah, it might be worth it. I did not go to USC. I went to Chapman University. So it's just right up the road from us here, out of the Costa Mesa area. And a great place to go to school. Was a public relations and advertising major. And now I coach our hockey team at Chapman University.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So did you play hockey then growing up? Was that your sport? Like when did you start playing hockey?
Yeah, I started playing hockey from the age of 10. Once again, really driven by Wayne Gretzky coming to the Kings. And, I think that got a lot of guys, kids my age, into the sport. And, it's just amazing to see how big hockey has become out here in the Southwest, even in your neck of the woods.
Like I played baseball until like 7th, 8th grade. And then I started playing like roller hockey, right? And I couldn't skate with a crap. And then I started playing ice hockey. And I literally fell in love with the sport, probably more than any other sport I've ever played in my entire life. And that was all because of Wayne Gretzky, too, because I was like a huge, huge fan of his. So much so, true story, in 8th grade, we had to do a book report, right? And so I did, and it had to be like an autobiography. So I did on Wayne Gretzky. And so I read the book, did the book report. And in the book, he goes, my weekends are spent, true story. My wife and I are sending a fan mail back to our fans, right? Like when people send letters in. I was like, oh, I'm going to send a letter to Wayne Gretzky. So I was in 8th grade and I sent a letter to Wayne Gretzky with a hockey card in it saying, I'm a big fan, blah, blah, blah. Would you sign my hockey card? No crap, dude. 9 months later, I get a letter in the mail from the Great Western Forum. And I knew right away because, like, all you hockey people, like, it's the Kings used to play was the Great Western Forum. And so I was like, no freaking way. And sure enough, dude, I got a signed Wayne Gretzky card. He signed it and sent it back. And I was like, I will never forget that. I still have it. It's like my treasured, prized item. And I love, like, seriously, Wayne Gretzky's like the shit. Like, he's the coolest dude ever.
So,
sorry.
A few years back, I was at the Staples Center. This was pre-DJ. So I was sitting in my seat, and one of my best friends was next to me. And then Paulina, Janet, and Wayne were the 3 seats next to us. Let's say my buddy had to pump a whole lot of whiskey into me that night because I was just freaking out. Everyone else, so did you get a picture and an autograph? And I'm like, no, I just let the man be. I'm not even going to bother him.
Forget that. I would all over that in like 2 seconds.
No.
I love him. Like, you understand. Like, because when I was a kid, right, there was no hockey in Arizona back then. We had 3 ice rinks in the whole state. Like, there was pre-Coyotes, right? And so, like, my cousin played hockey for the Phoenix Roadrunners, right?
Runners.
That was,
yep.
And so, like, okay, we're doing hockey trivia time. So, like, that was, like, the farm team for the Kings, right?
Right.
And so I would go to hockey, and they played at the Phoenix Memorial Coliseum, which is like the biggest shithole on the planet. And I used to love going to those games. It was fun. Like I still remember all the IHL teams. And so I remember when I was a kid, I used to take dates there. Like, you want to look like the shit? This is what you do. Like, you go out there, and then what happened after the game, they let you skate on the ice, right? So I take dates on the ice, like, after the game. I'm like, oh, you're so cool. And I'm like, it was like $3. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, this place sucks. But, and then one time I was there. Who was the coach for the Kings back then? What was his name?
Barry Melrose.
Barry Melrose, right? So we were at a game one night, and this was during the NHL lockout or whatever it was in like 95, 96. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Barry Melrose over there. And like he was sitting by himself watching the game because he had nothing to do probably. And this is before he was a sportscaster. And so like I walked up to him, I'm like, hey, Mr. Melrose. I'm like, big fan. So I'm like, I didn't ask for an autograph or a picture. There's like pre-cameras. Like this is how old this was. So then I was like, so I like shook his hand. I was like, I don't know, I love hockey stuff. I'll geek out all day long on old hockey players, dude, like all day long. There's another story. So then, like now, like, I had Stefan Yeller on the show, right? Yep. And so, because he's one of the owners of Alignment Pro. And so, like, I talk to him all the time. And the stories he tells, like, he talks so much crap too, but it's like, he like knows everybody because like the NHLPA has these golf tournaments here in Phoenix, and like everybody from back in the day shows up, right? Like Marty McSorley and, Neil Broughton and Mike Modano and like all the 90s players that I ever remember. I can tell you anybody nowadays. I have no idea. But back then, I could tell every guy. So I'm totally geeking out. Sorry. But
no, I'll share something since it has to do with the brand. I don't know if I didn't have the I coach now because it's me giving back to the game, right? Because I believe this game gave me so much. It made me the person that I am, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes I kind of wonder, because it just makes you a persistent motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like nothing. I mean, who decides to start a golf ball brand and get out of bed every morning and go compete against Callaway, Titleist, TaylorMade, etc.? You know that you got to have half a screw's got to be loose, right? You know, I'll tie this back into the hockey thing in a sec, but like I was listening to a podcast one day, and it was about founders and all of that, and then they said, you know, this guy
Was it behind the golf brand?
It wasn't.
Thanks.
It was like an NPR one or something. And this guy was on there talking about how founders are irrational people. And I was like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Irrational. I'm the most rational. And I was like, whoa, time out a second. Yeah, what you've done is completely irrational, right? So
It's not the normal course. People would never in a million years do what you do and do what I do. They would like to do it, but it's not safe. It's not comfortable, right? Like that's just people. It's hard. It's scary. I don't know. It's fun. It's exciting.
It's everything you just said.
That's why I love doing the podcast, because when I talk to guys like you and all the guys I've had on the show, it's like it's the same thread goes through all of us, right? It's like we're crazy. Like we would not. Why would you be writing articles on the weekend when you can go play golf or when you could do whatever else? I'm like, it's fun. Like it's fun. Like this is, I don't know.
I think it's the challenge, right? Like you got to figure this out. I mean, like especially
it's a game. It's like a very complex game.
Well, especially in like your space, because you're also competing against some behemoths, right?
Oh yeah, all day long. They're hardest. I mean, yeah, I know what competitors are. They're not even competitors. They're so big.
Right. Well, I mean, but you got like massive media companies behind a lot of your competitors, right? That have these resources to produce.
Yeah, magazines that came from whatever, billions of dollars. It's one big investment. Yeah. Well, same thing with you. I mean, seriously, who starts a golf ball company? Like, for reals? Like, you were, like, one of the first to actually do that. Like, Vice was first, right? Like, doing direct-to-consumer and all that. But, like, I mean, I went to PGA Superstore this weekend, and I was looking at the balls, right? I haven't looked at balls for a long time because I just work with certain brands. I get free balls. You know, I don't really look around. But then I realized, like, oh, my God, there's so many new ball brands out in the market. And, like, or the old ones are just copying each other, right? Like, oh, now there's all these different colors that never existed. I'm like, oh, I've seen that before. Cut did that 4 years ago. Vice did that, you know. It's like, it's just funny. But so back to hockey, though. So you think hockey's helped what's instilled what you did moving forward in life?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would tell you it's
3 minutes of insanity on the ice and then coming back and like trying to catch your breath.
Yeah, I mean, look, and I played at a high level growing up. I never, I played junior level hockey. I never cracked like minor leagues or the pros or anything like that. So I'm not gonna posture and say that I did anything along those lines. There's something to be said for that. It's a requirement to keep your head up. It's a requirement to, beat your opponent and be first to the puck. And you got to give everything you got for those 45 to 50 seconds that you're on the ice. And, there's a lot of moments where that game will really challenge you. Now, I will say one thing to be fair to our audience and be fair to golfers. Golf has to be the most brutal sport I've ever freaking played by way of this muscle, the one I'm pointing at, right? I mean, I dabbled in playing some competitive golf. I did the Golf Channel Am Tour, right? And I remember I'd had rounds where I would just get my teeth kicked in. And you go back to your car and you sit in your car and you're like, holy shit, I just blew that one up. I just shot a 110. And I
like my normal shot, my normal score.
Yeah, but I'm like, I just shot a 110. Like, that's crazy. And you're like, you have no teammates around you. You have no coach, kind of like lightly dusting you off and picking you up. And you're just there by yourself. and that was a really interesting parallel that I kind of came across when I got into playing competitive golf. And quite frankly, it was almost like not fun anymore playing the game, right? But yeah, I mean, hockey's a game where you just got to go out, shift in, shift out, and compete to the best of your ability. You got to go out there hurt sometimes. Like I said, I didn't even compete at the highest of levels.
Okay, so I know a lot about Sam because we've talked, like, we've had 4 shows essentially together that were never recorded. So you go to Chapman, you're in a marketing degree. This is crazy stories, you guys. So, like, what was your first, like, this is not his world, right? So what was your job out of college? Like, what were you doing? And you know where I'm going with this because this is crazy.
Yeah. So actually, I did that before I went to Chapman.
Really? Oh, I thought it was after.
Yeah. No, you're talking about the music industry?
Yeah.
You know, I basically cut my teeth and learned what I know.
It was in high school, right? It was in high school, like
pretty much. Like I was a junior in high school when I started working with bands out here in Orange County, and at that point, we're at the peak of the coolness factor of Orange County. It was like No Doubt was off the charts at that point. Sublime, Real Big Fish. I mean, just it was. Oh my
god, Real Big Fish! I remember that.
Yeah. So. And it was like a big giant scene out here, and I couldn't play an instrument to save my life. I'm definitely not going to get up and be a lead man in a band, so that's just not my thing. But I'm like, well, I want to like contribute. I want to be part of this. And then my best friend at the time, he was in a band. And I'm like, hey, let me like help you get some shows. And he's like, all right, and didn't think anything of it, and started helping him out and helping those guys out, and then like kind of started progressing on up the ladder, and by the time I was 19 years old, I had a job in the record industry. And
like doing what? Like, what were you doing?
I was an independent,
like A&R or whatever they call it.
That comes next. So I break into the music industry. I was like all of 18, 19 years old. I had this like they gave me like little tiny shoebox office and like the old record, like, you know, this old like storage closet, and I was the guy that ran our street teams. You know, like the people that sat out. Remember the people that sat outside concert venues
and hand out give you, like, flyers at the end of it saying, "Come on, this next one."
Yeah, either that or they'd give you like the sampler tape to like listen to some new band. I'm the guy that managed all that stuff, so I had like this little army of like. I think it was like something like 200 kids across the country that I just would manage all day long. And then after that, I was able to start kind of climbing some of the rungs and ended up working at a place called Interscope Geffen A&M. You know, I spent
what year was that?
Few years. That was around 99, 2000, and I left somewhere around 2002, I believe. And I basically just broke in and became like, essentially I was low man on a totem pole, basically making minimum wage and being like essentially a glorified gopher, right? So being like you're pretty much an assistant / intern / like you're going around picking up lunch and laundry and all that sort of shit, right? And I was just having this discussion with my wife the other day. I'm like, personally, that is the best training ground I ever had for
life.
It's a good. Yeah, but at the same time, that was a place where there was like no bullshit, right? I mean, it was like, come to work, you get your stuff done, you have a lot of fun along the way, but you still get your stuff done, right? And the Interscope had a very distinct culture where it was, I remember like there's like this legendary story that the phones went down one day in the building. And this is like, remember, there were no iPhones back then. And there's like this legendary story that like everyone just went outside and started, you know, like working off their phones. Like there was no like, oh, we're going to go take an early lunch or like this, that, or the other. And the result was, I don't know. I mean, look how many successful artists came out of that place. And
yeah, like start naming the artists that were there at that time, because this is a big deal. This is not like all some little crappy.
Right. So it was the home to, at that point, it was No Doubt, Bush. I'll never forget. So the Black Eyed Peas were like one of the new up and coming bands, but they weren't the Black Eyed Peas that we would then later get to know. I remember watching Will.i.am sitting at a desk next to me packing his own records into mailers to service the press, because that's what you had to do, right? Like it was always you were always hustling. Even the artists were hustling.
Hustler.
Yeah, so it's like Limp Bizkit. That plaque behind me is for the Bloodhound Gang. I worked on.
Oh my god, I love Bloodhound Gang.
Yeah, they're
holy
super
crap,
nice group of guys. Now, I mean, I'm in the corporate world, and there's days where I'm like, these people would never last a day at Interscope. Like, they would just. There's just no place for you here. Like, you know,
there's no time for you. Get out of here.
Yeah, because I mean, look, I mean, we've gotten to a place where, you know, and I'm guilty of doing this at Cut, where we look at certain like trends, market conditions, and I sit there and pour over a Callaway and a Cushnet, you know, quarterly earnings report. I'm like, oh, I think the market's going to go here. Well, yeah, that's great when you're sitting up there in your little ivory tower, but then there's like the practical side of things that will really kick in, right? Like, did you know the price of Sirloin is most likely going to go up? Oh, what about the ocean freight it's going to cost to bring your golf ball?
Yeah, you start getting in the weeds, then you don't get to get. It's not like you're running a company at that point. It's like last night, like we went to Taco Bell, which I never eat at Taco Bell, right? But it was after my son had lacrosse practice, and so I'm like, "Are you hungry?" He's like, "I'm starving." So I'm like, "Oh, Taco Bell," and I watched the guy. This is on point, right? I watched the guy filling the soda, and like Taco Bell, for all you people out there, like if you say I want a large drink, like they have buttons for like the amount of ice cubes that are going to be in a cup. Like I'd never seen that before. I didn't even know that was even a thing. I know, like, oh, you're a medium, you're a 2, and it gives you the exact amount of ice. Yep. Like they have all that down to the penny, right? Because I was trying to explain to my son, I'm like, oh yeah, probably because they give you too much ice, then they lose money on the water, and like who knows, guy, whatever. It's like so micromanaged. Not like, oh, here's your soda, right? Like,
yeah, the waste. Like even at Cut, I mean, waste will drive me bananas.
Well, it's lost money. Like, I mean, it's all it is. Like,
well, yeah, but how do I say this? Because I'm trying to be fair, because we've always had a good group of guys that have worked with us here, and I really appreciate them. But, like, there's moments where I'll see things done where I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, like a half-open pack of balls, and you're like, oh, I can't sell that now. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, things along those. And you know what? I don't fault them because, of course, you didn't think about – why would you think about dollars and cents, right?
No, of course not.
You know, but and like I said, we got a group here that they're very focused on knowing the economics and the impacts on decisions. So I give them a lot of credit for that. But yeah, you still have certain moments where like
we all do
let's not be so wasteful here. But anyways, we've gone down a very interesting rabbit hole and tangent here.
Okay, well, it's because you're talking about Taco Bell now.
No, you talked about. Well, hold on a sec. What did you get?
I'm
Taco
just kidding.
Bell?
I love Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what? Okay, so you're at Interscope, and then what was like the final straw? And you're like, "F this." I already know the answer to this, but it's such a good story.
You know, so I was a really big fan of this band called Cara's Flowers, who was signed to Warner Brothers. They actually had they had a pretty monumental record deal at the time from a dollar standpoint. And they got a guy named Rick Cavallo to produce their debut record, which is he only touched Green Day and Goo Goo Dolls at that time.
So like it's money, like it's like it's going to be good because
it was supposed to be good. Like Warner put a lot of resources into this band, so they released their record. I thought it was a phenomenal record. The public, I don't think, really agreed with that. And then they kind of just wanted to leave their record label. They became essentially, or in sports terms, they became like free agents looking for a new record deal. And I was kind of tracking them. And the position that I had was if you brought a band in or you brought an artist in, that's like your ticket to like just like
being a billionaire.
Yeah. Yes and no. Right.
I mean,
I worked with like side by side with the guy who like brought in Eminem, right? And he was like up here, and the rest of us are like over there, like taking out the trash, right? And so I'm tracking this band and talked to their manager, had them bring over the demo, and I walk it into the president of this record label's office, and I play it for him. I'm like, hey, we got to take this serious. I mean, I was like a 20-year-old kid at the time. Like, hey, this is like, this band's going to be huge. Like, we got to start tracking them. Let's go watch them. Let's, put all the pieces in place. I think we should sign them. And he just looks at me like, here's like a split second or 3 of a song. And he just looks at me. He's like, take that shit out of my CD player right now. And I was like, okay. And the name of the band was Maroon 5. And that was like the moment where I was like, you're a donkey. You're an idiot. And I don't know how much longer I want to do this for. And I'm going to go back to school and kind of get out of this rat race. And yeah, that was. And
had he just been like open to it, you've been like not on this show right now because you'd be like in Bel Air as a Fresh Prince and like.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I hate to admit it. I mean, I'd most likely be golfing with Adam Levine. And instead, I'm sitting in my garage talking to you.
Thanks a lot. I'm better looking at Adam Levine though. It's okay. You get out of college. I mean, so you go to college, you play hockey. I just think it's fascinating. And then you join the rat race like the rest of us, right? Like you get a job because that's what we're supposed to do. And then like, what point did you start saying like when did you start thinking about starting a golf ball company? Like what year was that?
After college, I had an entrepreneurial, venture, if you will, that did really well. And then 2008, 2009, the financial crisis happened.
What was that venture?
It was in the skate industry. And
like skateboarding?
Yeah, skateboarding. I helped start a brand. I helped start a distribution business. Did really well, but this is what I mean. Like there's an aspect of we're sitting here in a meeting, in my office, meeting room, whatever it is, and I'm looking at like, oh, here are the dollars and cents coming in and out. And then there's like the practical thing that happens out in the real world, right? And I remember our sales started to falter. We were like one of the hottest brands at the time, had a really good distribution business going. And somewhere around the summer of 08 or 09, it's like someone flipped the switch from on to off. Like our sales just started going down, down, down. And I'm like, oh, it's our sales staff. They've gotten all complicit or comfortable, I should say. And they're not pounding the phones as hard as they should be. And I'm just going to walk in and fire them all. This is the stupidest thing I ever did. And then I remember I was like, okay, something's really wrong with this business. I came in on a Saturday afternoon, and I'll never forget doing this. And I started calling accounts randomly. And I was like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Skate Shop owner, like I've noticed that like you used to order like X amount of product from us on a month in, month out basis. And we haven't seen an order from you in like 2 months, 3 months. What's the deal? Like everything okay? They're like, yeah, how do you expect us to buy skateboards from you when half the towns just lost their jobs? And I was like, oh, that, yeah.
Reality check.
It was. And that for me, from a leadership standpoint, taught me a lot, right? Which is, once again, you could sit over here and analyze and think things through. And then there's going to be you're going to have a practical moment when your market's going to tell you something that you may have never sat back and said, oh yeah, that could be a factor as to why my business is either up or down. So yeah, that was like a lesson learned, that's for sure. So I did that, somewhere around there. I went into coaching for a while, full time, for about a season or two. And then I met my wife, I met my soon to be wife, I guess. And then just said, all right, it's time to go out and I have to go get like a real job now and think about my career. And then I landed in the solar industry. And then the solar industry is a great place to work, great place to make a career. But man, from where I came from, I mean, it's the most boring industry you'll ever be a part of, which I can appreciate. I mean, I worked with some great people. I've learned a lot of awesome things. But I think I hit a moment about 6 years into my solar career where I was like, all right, this is cool, but I'd like to have some fun, or, maybe it's time for me to revisit my entrepreneurial roots. At this point, I'd taken up golf. It was like something I was doing like every weekend. I was maybe playing a round or two a week. One day I was on the golf course with 2 really good friends of mine. And I was like, man, I'm losing a lot of golf balls today. So you're telling me Dollar Shave Club figured out a solution for the razor. You're telling me the Casper and Tucked and Needle figured it out for the mattress industry. And here we are in the golf industry, and there's like real no true solution. Because I was like, well, I started researching things like Vice and Encore and Snell, and it seemed like they make a great product. And then I was like, but there's not really a direct-to-consumer value there, right? I think Vice, you have to buy like 5 dozens, and then maybe you see the price come down. And the thing that came to mind was, well, if you're making me pay at that price point, I'd much rather just stick with my Bridgestone or my TaylorMade that I was playing at the time, because Nike had just decided to exit the industry around here. And I said, I'd much rather pay like the extra $10 and go with something that I trust and know and all of that. I said, man, these guys on the direct-to-consumer side, I mean, they seem to like get it, but it just that price point wasn't impactful enough to me. And I said, is there a way to get a 3 or 4 piece urethane golf ball to like the $20 mark or the $19.95 mark, right? I started doing some homework, started learning the ins and outs of the golf ball by way of essentially just being educated by a lot of online research. Lo and behold, we were able to secure our first factory that was formerly producing for Nike. And they said, yeah, here's a 4-piece urethane golf ball. And we looked at the economics that they were, and the pricing that they were offering us, and it seemed to make sense. And the next thing you know, Cut Blue comes to market in March of 2017, and we were able to offer a 4-piece urethane golf ball at $19.95. And then later that summer, we coined, it's the best damn golf ball under $20.
You started a golf ball company, but like, was it just you, or did you have investors, or like, how did you start that?
Oh, it was just us. I mean, it's just like essentially myself and a few friends, essentially is how it all came together. We took, we all rounded up a little bit of cash to get us up off the ground, bring in the first round of inventory. And
what year was that?
That was the end of 2016 and beginning of 2017 when all this happened.
How big was your first order?
Of golf balls that we brought in?
10,000 or something crazy?
No. It was like 999. I want to say it was like the exact number. I remember I begged the...
You maxed out the whatever you could totally get.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I'm like, I'll never forget this. So we ordered a 2-piece Surlyn ball, 3-piece Surlyn ball, and a 4-piece urethane ball, right? So what is now cut red, cut white, and cut blue. And I'll never forget this. Luckily, I knew how to manage, freight forwarders, a little bit of logistics. And I'll never forget this. Pallet gets dropped off at my house in front of my garage.
It's
and the
huge.
pallet,
that's a lot of balls.
Yeah, but it's one pallet, right? I mean, now I go in our warehouse and I think about that day and I have this little chuckle, right? I mean, the pallet was even broken because someone rammed the forklift into it. And then I sat there, I looked at this thing and I'm like, well, I'm either going to have golf balls for a Christmas present and for myself for eternity, or I'm going to figure out how to sell this stuff. And I think we figured out how to sell that first.
So how did you sell it? So you buy 1,000 golf balls in 2017. I'm assuming you build a website, right?
Yep.
And then how did you grow it? I mean, because you guys obviously sold a fair amount, just buy more. Yeah. So how if you're a new entrepreneur out there wanting, I'm not saying golf ball space, but how did you market your product? Did you just do run ads? Did you get in influencers' hands? What did you do?
So Matt, who is one of the original partners here, he was really he would just go on Instagram and start messaging all the influencers. And that was a different time for influencers, right? A lot has changed it was early.
They're just happy to get free stuff back then.
Yeah, exactly. And we just started seeding the product to influencers. We started getting in the hands of, I mean, the golf media, sure, you can send it out, but unless you're spending the marketing dollars and the ad dollars with them, you're not going to get a review.
I gave you a review. It didn't cost you anything but some balls.
Yeah.
Oh, he said golf media. My bad. My bad.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, so you kind of had to like pick and choose where what we were doing, and then we figured out Facebook advertising. Well, let me rephrase that. We were learning Facebook advertising because I don't know that you would ever figure out Facebook advertising.
You spend a fortune until you kind of figure out what kind of works, and then you stick with it because you're afraid you're going to lose more money if you try something different.
Yeah, and that was, I'll tell you, Paul, I mean, those were the 2017 and 2018, like the first 2 years of our business, those were the fun years, right? Then you get into 19 and to today, and now it's a job, right? Now it's work. And I would tell you that the first 2 years of our business they're like magical years. But I'm not complaining because I think that we've amassed a certain level of success, and I'm very grateful for that. Man, am I that boring?
No, sorry. I didn't lost sleep last night. I told you I watched that documentary about Ukraine, and then I was like all like wired and be like, oh, I better read what's happening in the war. So why were those years magical? Just because it was like not really a job. It's not grindy. It's just very like free. And then when you make money, you're like, holy crap, we're making money. And then it's like there's not all these obligations, right?
I've been fortunate enough to, have friendships with guys like Brian over at Birdie Corn and Sam over at Minimal. And, you talk to these, even yourself and you know what it's like to get a brand up and going. And, you take your business from like this idea stage, then you're like in the proof of concept stage. Then you're like, oh yeah, we got a business here. And then you get to like, oh, we're going to grow. And I would tell you that the growth is where all the headaches started coming in, right? When you're starting to juggle accounts like Target and Walmart and those demands. And then you look at you're expanding into worldwide golf and Golf Town up in Canada. Now you're talking about international distribution. And then you have a pandemic hit, and then there's a whole other set of factors that you have to take into account while you're still running this business that's like it's turning product on a day in day out basis.
At the time you guys released, who would you have said is your competitor at the time? Don't say Callaway and Titleist because they're like crazy.
No.
Like who was it? Snell, Encore, Vice?
Yeah. I would tell you. Yeah, I would tell you. You bring up a very good point. I would tell you that we have taken, the Titleist, Callaway, and TaylorMade brands, and we almost just put them in the corner. Like you're over there.
You have to.
Yeah, like what you think I'm going to compete with an $800 million marketing budget, and I might be underpinning it. Yeah, it's not going to happen. So
you'll quit if you try to compare yourself to those things. You'll quit. You're just like, I'm not going to do this. Like that's impossible.
Right. No, and you got to look at, you got to take a step back when you're entering a business and really understand what's your addressable market. And then who are the players within that market and what share do they have? And I just like, okay, those guys are great. Let them duke it out over there. And then really sit down and hone in on focusing on the direct to consumer competitors that we have, which are Snell and Vice predominantly. We've seen other brands like Encore, and there's another one. There's a few other ones.
There's Quantix. They just came out.
Quantix, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. But you see a lot of like now. There's one called like Seed. I don't know. There's like a bunch of new ones that started in the last like year. One's called like I don't know. I think it's cool. I mean, I think there's a bunch of market share there. I think like I've seen other brands move into balls that were not predominantly ball brands. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, I think we see those same moves. We focus on playing our game the best we can. And so far, so good. I would tell you.
No, you guys are doing really good. I mean,
yeah.
This stuff. So I first met you guys. 2018, probably around there. Like Joe had reached out and we reviewed. You guys sent me a bunch of balls. I mean, you sent me probably like one of every color, like every box, right? Or whatever it was on at the time. And what I liked about it was like they were good balls and they were like colorful too. And they were just good balls. You could just tell they were a nice ball. And I was like, well, this is legit. You know, it wasn't like, hi, we're making a ball. It only comes in one color and it's only a 2-piece. You know, it's like,
but
that's what really made me take notice of you guys, like outside of you guys were doing on social already, but just like, I'm like, whoa, they really have their stuff together. Like they're doing other things than just the basic, right?
Right. I think that there's a misconception that, they're just pulling a ball out of a factory and just stamping their, brand on there. That's like, no,
I can't do it anymore.
I don't even think that. I mean, I can tell you this. That Snell doesn't do that. You got to give Dean his right amount of. He's got a lot of due credit, and you need to give it to him, right? I mean, they make a great product. I think Vice makes a good product, right?
They all make good products.
A great product.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like everybody makes it because you wouldn't be able to make that's the thing. People say, have you ever reviewed a product that was not good? I'm like, yeah, a couple times, but I would never I would just go tell the brand like, hey, this thing's a piece of crap. I'm not gonna report because it is a piece of crap. I'm not gonna be part of that whatever story, right? But I think if there's a certain quality threshold that you have to make to be at the level that you guys are at, like the Vice, the Snell, you guys, you have to be there because it's not so much like I almost look at tiers of a cake, right? Like the top tier of the cake are the big boys, right? That's never going to go away. Then you have the middle tier where I think all those are where you guys are, right? Just about there, but not quite because you don't have $1 billion budget, right? But you were at the lower tier and you kind of worked yourself into the middle tier. And the lower tier is different than it used to be because now it's the lower tier is more of a ball. I feel like it's a basic ball you buy on Alibaba, right? And now it's a price game. It's not so much quality, it's price, right? We're a penny less or we're whatever it might be. It's not so much we're innovative or, we have a history or I don't know. That's my opinion.
No, I mean, look, I think that folks, might overlook the fact that we actually do. There's a lot that goes into managing the product, if you will. We're constantly looking for okay, how do we improve this? We have Cut Blue has a soft cover, and it gets shredded up, and that's been a pain in my ass for the last now 3 years, and we've spent the last 3 years trying to make improvements. And I will tell you, I'm very excited about this. I think by the time June and July rolls around, we might be looking at pretty much our most durable cover ever. Even though the first generation cover was almost, I would say it was indestructible. But that also, there's some nuances in that cover that I think the market didn't appreciate. But I think I'm really excited about the new version of Cut Blue that's going to come out. DC and Cut Gray, I mean, we use the same manufacturing partner that's a legacy manufacturer for Nike. And if you were playing the 20XI ball and you're playing the resin ball, it was coming out of literally out of the same line that our ball comes out of today. So I think that, those are stories that I like to share with your viewers and people listening in. And, to say, yeah, we actually take our product really seriously here. I give a lot of credit to guys like Dennis who are in our camp, who one of his sole roles here at Cut is just managing our supply chain. And he's very meticulous to understand how much capacity there is coming out of the factory, what quality issues are coming up, how do we make improvements to the product. And I give Dennis all the credit for that, right? So
how big is the Cut team now?
The Cut team now is myself, Dennis, John, Ray, and that's pretty much it. We got attorneys that run around here as well. But yeah, and then we just got into attorneys. Yeah, no shit. Trust me, the ones over here, I'm constantly. Yeah.
Hate 'em.
Don't get me started on that. But yeah, so I mean that's kind of like what the cut team looks like today. And
So what's coming out this year? Like what's happening this year? Like what are you excited about? Because you just kind of said that you have a new ball coming out, or at least new cover on the ball.
Yes, so we got a new variation of cut blue that'll come out with a new, what I would say is a new cover. We're going to get more durability out of that cover. DC gray stay the same. Can I leave the camera real quick and show you something? Do you mind?
I don't care. Go ahead.
All right, cool. Let's close it. So I'm pretty pumped about this. So this is now, cut red, right? So this is our 2-piece Surlyn ball. A dozen retails for $9.95, and then our friends over at Walmart and a few other key retailers have asked us to make them this double pack right here. So if you guys remember, like the Nike Mojo ball, like this is pretty much.
I remember that.
It's kind of like our homage to that ball. So I'm pretty excited about this. I need to get this off the photographer to get some product shots. Pretty pumped about that. We might be looking into, kind of taking some steps in a different direction with our apparel lineup. I don't know
You
if
guys
that's going
have those
to happen
cool ass
this
hats.
year.
I remember you had those hats.
Which
cut
ones?
hats. That's a cut, and it was puff. Remember those?
Oh yeah, like the blue and the red one.
The blue and the white one, and the red had a red brim. Yeah, I remember that one.
Yep. Yeah, that's still around. Those are legacy items I don't see going away. So what I would say, Paul, is look, the tail end of 2021 was a challenging year. We ran into, look, if we're talking about, behind the brand, we got to be genuine enough to say, yeah, I mean, look, we're a startup, right? We had to go out and figure out some capital issues, which are now resolved. And we're in a brand new partnership with someone in the golf industry out of the Jupiter area, and we're really excited about that starting to come together. And we'll have a lot of things going on at Cut. So I mean, we were a little absent from social media over the last few months, completely intentional, and now we're kind of gearing up to get things back on track and make sure that we're taking all the right steps.
This should be a big year for you guys. I mean, I'm thinking with what you've told me before, with what you're working on.
Yeah, I could tell you look, everything has been, growth since 2017, right? From a perspective of revenue and units shipped. And I would say this year's going to be pretty big. I'm very excited about our relationship with Worldwide Golf, which, is Roger Dunn, Vans, Edwin Watts, etc.
Yeah, it's like that conglomerate of stores.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about where that relationship's going these days. Target and Walmart keep on giving us, bringing more SKUs in. We've been very successful in that channel. And then what I'm even most excited about is the growth that we're seeing on the international front. So we're growing like a weed in Canada, bringing on a new distributor in Korea. And then we got to actually rekindle our UK distribution as well. I mean, that kind of, we had to put a pause on that towards the end of last year, but now with everything kind of resolved on the back end of our business, we're able to kind of go back out and get that market in the UK as well.
Are you guys doing any kind of green grass right now or no?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, we have,
I would think that'd be like a bread. I think any brand who's not doing that is stupid, to be honest, because like it's a lot more work. But if you can get in on that, like it's harder, I would assume.
Yeah, because I mean, in our business model is very focused and driven by volume. So I've always had this belief that like the golf ball is an impulse buy. in a way, right? Because I don't know many people that, like you're not taking your ball inventory on a Tuesday night, going like, hey, I think I need more golf balls. You're most likely to get to the course and go, oh shit, I forgot I needed to go buy more golf balls, right? And you're going to walk into the pro shop and you're going to cough up your 30 to 40% premium that you'll have to pay. But hey, that's, that course, that's the convenience factor. So I would say our green grass business really started doing well last year, actually. And I do expect some significant growth in.
But when you do green grass,
segment.
like what do you focus on as a brand? Do you focus on the big players, like the Troons of the world, or do you focus on like munis? And I have no idea, to be honest.
I think that we took an approach of focusing on larger accounts, maybe like in that 2020, like in 2020, that was the way to go. As soon as the golf course is closed, or they wouldn't even seat. I mean, there's a chunk of the year where they wouldn't even let you come into the shop to present a line. So we really looked at, all right, let's grow our key account business, and then when green grass gets back to normal, which we're already there, then we'll go start selling those guys. So I would expect that the majority of our growth comes in the green grass segment.
I can't believe you guys are in Walmart and Target. That's crazy. That's so commendable. I mean, like, are you guys in Dick's and all those dudes yet?
We're not in Dick's. We're in Meijer. That's another one that we opened up for all our folks in the Midwest. Yeah, that's a pretty cool one. I have a brother-in-law that lives out in Wisconsin, and he had a Meijer right around the corner from his house, and I was like, okay, this is.
Yeah, when you don't live in those locations and you hear these like we don't live in Canada, but we're like, oh, golf town. Like, I'm not Canadian, and I know a lot of people live in Canada. I mean, follow our show, runs with, and then like golf town's huge, but it's like, to me, it's like a Dick's, because Dick's is down the street, right? What's your plan then for the site? Are you guys in the process of redoing the site, or are you guys going to keep it the same?
No. I would say, look, I can. The broad general answer is, I think what you're catching me on the front end of what we internally call cut 2.0, right?
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see an evolution of the brand. You'll see an evolution of the product. You'll see possibly evolution of the messaging. So I think that's me just laying the groundwork to say we're going to have a follow-up to all of this.
I want to see you this summer. I told you that already. So I got some big plans with you to come visit you and hang out in California. Like, whatever, dude. Oh, God. Not that thing. And so I'm really excited. You guys, I don't know. Like, I'm actually glad we recorded the show today. Like I've said, we've tried it numerous times, and we probably wouldn't have recorded it today if I didn't force them to. 30 minutes into our conversation saying we need to record. But I've been a fan from a far distance. I mean, I think Sam is a friend at this point. We talk like, I don't know, at least once a month, it feels like, about stuff. And you guys need to check out Cut Golf Balls. I think it's really cool how you guys have grown so fast. Like, I know I was impressed in the early years when I first saw you, and I always had a good relationship with Joe, who was, no longer there. Yep. But like with Joe, who brought me in, and then, that's why I became friends with you. You guys get cut pretty much anywhere. I mean, it's in big box retailers, it's online. And yeah, thanks for being on the show today. I appreciate it.
Of course. Anytime, Paul. Thanks for having me on.
Where can people find Cut Golf Balls at?
You can find it on our website. Go to cutgolf.co. We just kind of listed all of the retailers along the way. Target, Walmart, Amazon, Worldwide Golf, Golf Town for our friends up in Canada. And then, soon you'll be able to, I know that we're in outlets in Japan, Korea.
Yeah, yours are growing like crazy.
The list is growing, because I used to answer that question like in 3 words, and now it's it's like website, Amazon. Now it's everywhere else.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show, you guys. Sam's a good dude. Cut's awesome. You guys got to support him. I mean, honestly, they make the best game ball under $20. I mean, $20, that's nothing. It's not even a round of golf. It doesn't even have a round of golf. So check them out, and I will see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Behind the Golf Brand Podcast.
You're gonna beat me at golf?
Stay connected on and off the show by visiting golfersauthority.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment.
Golf is always more fun when you win.
Stay out of the beach and see you on the green.